Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. Top story we should talk about from ABC News. The United States is now willing to send ATACMS to Ukraine. At this point, I feel like Charlie Brown trying to kick the football. Is Lucy actually going to hold it? Is the United States actually going to send ATACMS to Ukraine? And according to one U.S. official cited in this story, they are coming. Now, officially, the United States is going to give some nonsense such as this. The U.S. has found it has more ATACMS in its inventory than originally assessed. But what's actually happening here is a staring contest between Germany and the United States. Germany has made it clear they're unwilling to send their own long-range Taurus cruise missiles unless the United States also sends ATACMS. So the United States is calling Germany's bluff, and they're going to transfer probably a couple hundred ATACMS, then expecting Germany to also approve Taurus long-range cruise missiles. Now, politically, what I think is going to happen is the United States is going to wait a couple weeks. Today, in Russia, they're holding those regional elections. At some point in the next 2 weeks, Russia is going to announce another round of mass mobilization, grabbing another 200 or 300,000 Russian men. So the United States is going to wait for that escalation from Russia, and then they're going to say they're going to transfer ATACMS in response. So this tweet, this quote from Olga on Kremlin State TV, is from a year ago, September 19th of last year. We've been talking about will the United States send ATACMS to Ukraine for over a year. And this is the threat that the Russians made a year ago. Washington is well aware that if the Pentagon supplies Ukraine with ATACMS missiles with a range of up to 300 kilometers, Russia has every right to defend itself. That's to say, to strike Poland or the US's Ramstein base in Germany, for example. So what are the Russians going to do once the United States sends ATACMS? And we already know the answer to that. They're going to do nothing. This next story is going to be very difficult to talk about because I'm going to have to break one of my unspoken rules on my YouTube channel. I don't talk about Elon Musk. 3 years ago on my YouTube channel, when I was just a finance YouTuber, I made a video critical of Elon Musk. Back when he was pumping Dogecoin and other scams. And for the people in this world who like and support Elon Musk, they're kind of fanatical. Elon has done a really good job the last 15 years developing this cult of personality. And for people who like SpaceX, people who like Tesla Motors, they're obsessed with Elon. And they want to believe in him. They want to believe he's the future and he's going to take us to Mars and he's going to revolutionize every aspect of our daily life. That's fine, but on the issue of Ukraine, he has been dead wrong for the last year and a half. That's what we're going to talk about. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate comments. I know people are going to tell me, Jake, you're wrong on Elon Musk. I have to unsubscribe from your channel now. But Elon has crossed the line. We're going to talk about him today. Elon Musk sabotaged Ukrainian attack on Russian fleet in Crimea by turning off Starlink according to a new book. This new book is a biography from Walter Isaacson. It's going to be available for sale soon. And this happened last October. The Ukrainians were developing their own fleet of kamikaze drone boats, and they were prepared for a sneak attack on the Russian fleet in the harbor of Sevastopol. According to this book, Elon Musk sabotaged that attack in order to save the Russian warships. Where would Elon get an idea to do this? Well, Elon is friends with and interacts with a lot of Russian propagandists on Twitter. This tweet is from October 9th of last year. I've been up all night trying to think of any possible way to de-escalate this war. Ian Miles Chong, this guy is a Russian propagandist, he tweeted at Elon, "Might be a good idea to take Starlink offline for the terminals used on the front lines. Could encourage them to reconsider their position on advancing towards Crimea and leading the world further into the brink of total war." So this story broke 2 or 3 days ago, and Elon admitted to it. He clarified on Twitter. This is what he says. "There was an emergency request from government authorities to activate Starlink all the way to Sevastopol, the obvious intent being to sink most of the Russian fleet at anchor. If I had agreed to their request, then SpaceX would be explicitly complicit in a major act of war and conflict escalation." So Elon is trying to do damage control, and he's changing the story from what Walter Isaacson said in his book. So Walter Isaacson, the author, is also trying to clarify. To clarify on the Starlink issue, the Ukrainians thought coverage was enabled all the way to Crimea, but it was not. They asked Musk to enable it for their drone sub-attack on the Russian fleet. Musk did not enable it because he thought, probably correctly, that would cause a major war. So according to Musk and Walter Isaacson, everything that's been happening the last year and a half is not a major war. That's point one. Point two is this doesn't add up. Why would Ukraine launch the drones, the boat drones, if they were going to lose connectivity, become dead in the water, and then just drift to shore? That's what actually happened last October. So people are calling out Walter Isaacson. Here is the quote from his book. This is pretty specific. So he being Elon Musk, he secretly told his engineers to turn off coverage within 100 kilometers of the Crimean coast. As a result, when the Ukrainian drone subs got near the Russian fleet in Sevastopol, they lost connectivity and washed ashore harmlessly. So here's Walter Isaacson trying to clarify once again what he wrote in his book. "Hi Tim, based on my conversations with Musk, I mistakenly thought the policy to not allow Starlink to be used for an attack on Crimea had been first decided on the night of the Ukrainian attempted sneak attack. He, being Musk, now says that the policy had been implemented earlier, but the Ukrainians did not know it, and that night he simply reaffirmed his policy." So where's the miscommunication happening here? How can it be that the Ukrainians thought their drone boats would be successful, that they had Starlink access to go all the way to the port city of Sevastopol? Yet Elon didn't communicate this to the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians thought their drone boats would be successful, and they weren't, because Musk cut off connectivity. Musk is trying to say that this was always the policy. That's not what the Ukrainians thought. How could Musk not have made this clear to them if that's what actually happened? I personally think Elon Musk is a liar, and he's lying, and he did shut off the connectivity for Starlink to prevent these boats from successfully hitting their targets. I think what Walter Isaacson wrote in his book is actually correct. So who loves this? Who loves everything that Elon Musk is saying and doing? And it's the Russians. Here's Dmitry Medvedev. Walter Isaacson, an author and journalist, in his biography of Elon Musk, writes that last year the businessman shut down Starlink to prevent Ukraine's attack on Russia's navy stationed in Crimea. He was concerned about a retaliatory nuclear strike. If what Isaacson has written in his book is true, then it looks like Musk is the last adequate mind in North America, or at the very least in gender-neutral America, he is the one with the balls. So the Russians love Elon Musk. And I want to just explain the ramifications of Musk's decisions to sabotage the Ukrainian military from striking valid military targets. Elon Musk rescued the warships that are currently bombing Ukrainian civilians. These same warships that are blocking the port cities of Odessa and Izmail on the Danube River. Elon Musk is contributing to a global famine. As food prices this fall and winter will spike, we could experience political turmoil and famine in Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia. Elon Musk is fine with this, as long as those Russian warships are not sunk. Here's a reaction from Garry Kasparov, exposing how dangerous it is to have fickle, misinformed oligarchs with leverage over US national security. SpaceX and Starlink are marvelous, but if Musk's delusional anti-war agenda leads him to interfere with their services to Russia's advantage, it's a huge risk. Elon Musk is one of the wealthiest men in the world, and he is not accountable to anybody. He's proven the last couple years how irrational he can be and how he's willing to do whatever he wants and whatever he thinks is best. He is not a representative of the US government. He has no place directing US foreign policy, but that's what he's choosing to do, inserting himself into this war and using his companies to protect the Russian military. Timothy Schneider has this to add. Not just a risk. Elon's decision bought Russia time to build defenses and lay mines. This has extended the war and killed thousands of more people. What's worse, if possible, is that spreading Russian nuclear propaganda. Musk made nuclear war more likely. If nuclear bullies are met with only cowardice, we will get more nuclear bullies. A world where everyone builds nukes, either to bully or prevent being bullied by nuclear bullies. So if Russia is allowed to succeed, if Russia is allowed to keep the occupied territories, then the lesson learned from this war is, if you have nuclear weapons, you can do whatever you want. If you threaten to use a nuke, people like Elon Musk will protect you and defend you and say you have every right to redraw your borders, take your neighbors' territories. You have nukes, you're threatening nuclear war. That's not acceptable. Give them whatever they want. Likewise, if you're a smaller neighbor being threatened by a nuclear power, China or Russia, you now have every incentive to get nuclear weapons as fast as possible. Having nuclear weapons might be the only way to defend yourself from Russia and China talking about respecting historical borders. So Elon Musk won't shut up. He continues, this is a tweet from September 7th, both sides should agree to a truce. I've mentioned this on the channel numerous times, that this is the Kremlin's talking point to all of their stooges and propagandists in the West. This is what the Kremlin wants. A freeze in the conflict so they can consolidate their gains, rearm, and then just attack Ukraine again in 2, 5, or 10 years. He then adds, every day that passes, more Ukrainian and Russian youth die to gain and lose small pieces of land, with borders barely changing. This is not worth their lives. I agree that it's not worth the lives of Russian men to occupy Ukrainian land, to steal Ukrainian territory. But I think the Ukrainians feel a bit different about their people being massacred, their territory being stolen by Russia. If Elon was willing to actually talk to Ukrainians, they would probably argue it is worth their lives to defend their people, their cities, and their homeland. Bill Browder has this to add, Elon, you make great cars and a lot of money doing it, but that doesn't qualify you in any way to tip the scales in an existential fight for freedom for the people of Ukraine. Russia started this war. Ukraine is just defending itself. Your call for capitulation is totally inappropriate. So this cartoon sums it up accurately. Ukrainian people just want to exist. They want to have their own states, their own sovereignty. And the Russians say this every day on Kremlin state TV, that the Ukrainian language, the Ukrainian ethnic identity, the Ukrainian culture doesn't exist. These are Russians. Everybody living on the territory of Ukraine is actually Russian, and unless they accept that they're Russian, they will be exterminated. That's the definition of a genocide. And Elon is looking for a compromise. So I know, once again, there are people watching this video who love Elon Musk, and they're probably furious at me at the moment. But let's look at the facts. In the last year and a half, Elon Musk has not said one critical word of Putin or the Russians. All of the war crimes, all of the destruction, all of the raping, murdering, pillaging. Elon Musk on Twitter has not said one critical word of Russia at any point. In addition, Elon has unblocked Russian propagandists after he took over Twitter. Elon Musk's Twitter is now recommending Kremlin-linked accounts to users after restricting them last year. So under the previous management of Twitter, all of these accounts were restricted. You couldn't find them in search because Russia invaded Ukraine. And then once Elon took over Twitter, he freed up these accounts. So here's Margarita Simonyan, the mother of Russian propaganda, tweeting her heart-filled thanks to Elon Musk. Twitter delabeled me and all of our channels as public-funded media. Now you can even find me in the search. Brotherly love, Elon, from the heart. Twitter is banned in Russia. There are no ordinary Russians on Twitter. The only Russians on Twitter are propagandists, and Elon has done everything he could since taking over the platform to protect and promote these people. Elon also promotes these propagandists by interacting with their accounts. He likes their tweets, he likes their posts, and he sometimes even responds to them, people like Dmitry Medvedev. And because Elon has so many followers on Twitter, anytime he interacts with anyone, it guarantees that tens of millions of people will then see that tweet. Elon knows exactly what he's doing. He never comments on or interacts with accounts that support Ukraine. He pretty much just sticks to pro-Russian accounts. In addition, Elon has had an open invite to visit Ukraine and see Russian war crimes for himself. President Zelensky has stated this, that Elon can stop by Kyiv at any time and show his support for the Ukrainian people. It's been a year and a half, and Elon has refused to visit Ukraine. But Elon has time to visit China. Elon Musk greeted with flattery and feasts during China trip. This happened in May. Elon also has time to wine and dine with sanctioned Russian propagandists in a VIP box at the World Cup final in Qatar. Elon Musk was spotted with a sanctioned pro-Putin Russian TV presenter. VIP box in Qatar with the Saudis and Jared Kushner. Elon has time for this, but not time to visit Kyiv and show support for Ukraine. Additionally, once again, a year and a half, and Elon has never said anything supportive of Ukraine's military, and he constantly pushes Kremlin talking points, Kremlin propaganda about this war on his platform. Elon Musk's new Twitter policies helped spread Russian propaganda. A report released by the EU says that a number of social media platforms failed to implement new rules designed to combat Kremlin disinformation. Elon fights back, Where is all this pro-Russia propaganda? We don't see it. It's you, Elon. You're the pro-Russia propaganda. When you say stuff like the Black Sea fleets can't be sunk because that would trigger a nuclear war, when you say that both sides need to agree to a truce and to freeze the conflict in its current place, you're just repeating Russian propaganda. You're doing and saying exactly what the Kremlin wants. So these are my closing thoughts. Once again, I'm sure there's probably some Elon fanboys who watch my videos. I hope you continue watching my videos, but I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I know a lot of people are going to be upset because they want to believe in this guy. They want to believe that this guy is on their side, this tech billionaire taking us to Mars, but my personal belief is that he's a fraud. He doesn't actually support Ukraine. He doesn't actually support freedom and democracy around the world. The richest man in the world, who by dollar amount has the most power in the world, he's just looking out for himself. So it's important to actually listen to Russian soldiers. What are the Russians fighting on the ground actually saying? This is something Elon won't do. Former Wagner mercenaries confessed to killing women and children in Ukraine. In an interview with a Russian human rights organization, Russian ex-convicts recruited in the Wagner group told how Wagner mercenaries committed war crimes in Ukraine. I've shown these clips before. I've shown these videos of Russian soldiers admitting to war crimes, stating how barbaric they are, following orders from the top. Here's a quote. "We killed everyone, regardless of gender, and there were grandmothers and grandfathers. We reached this 5-story building and we killed 40 people probably. They were civilians. There were people in baklavas standing behind us. If you went back, they would kill you too." The evidence is there. The videos are there. Russians admitting this is a genocide. They're going through these villages and just executing everyone. Plus, there's interviews. They proudly state this on Kremlin State TV, Channel 1. Watch this clip of what a Russian soldier, a Russian commander on the ground, thinks of this war.
Война надолго. Я думаю, что достаточно еще времени придется потратить. Говорить о определенных сроках. Нет, бессмысленно. Бессмысленно, да. Что там вообще определяться? Если мы говорим о Восточной Европе, которая находится, то, конечно, будет больше или дольше. То есть Украина только промежуточный этап? Да, конечно, совершенно верно. Это только начало.
Ukraine is only a stepping stone. Yes, absolutely. It is only the beginning. So what Russia wants is a restoration of their 1914 borders, the maximum extent of the Russian Empire. Putin and the Russians are never going to stop at Ukraine. If they can absorb Ukraine, they will Russify the people, force mobilize them, conscript them, and then send them to attack the next country. This is what the Russian Empire did for hundreds of years, using their ethnic minorities to expand their borders while Russifying the children. So if Ukraine falls, Moldova's next, the Baltics are next, we've got the Caucasus, we've got Poland, we've got Finland. Russia's never going to stop unless we stop them today in Ukraine. But thankfully for Ukraine and the free and democratic world, the Russians are corrupt and incompetent. This is destroying their capacity to effectively fight this war every day. Breakthrough at Russia's second defense line. Ukraine's breakthrough at Russia's second defense line is pretty considerable according to the DIA's Director of Analysis. I could give you map updates every single video, but the pace doesn't really matter. Ukraine is advancing, and they're advancing on their own time schedule. They're trying to minimize loss of material and minimize loss of men. But all you need to know is every day Ukraine is advancing somewhere on the map, and the Russians are struggling. We lost 600 men. Russian reveals horrific losses and behavior on front lines. The soldier also describes killing an alleged Ukrainian partisan, then burning his body, as well as the murder of Ukrainian POWs, saying they are an extra burden. The Russians are taking horrific losses every single day. That is why the Kremlin in the next 2 weeks is going to announce another mobilization effort of 300,000 men. They don't have the armor and equipment to effectively send these people to Ukraine to give them much of a fighting chance. Western support is not going to stop anytime soon. The Russians are struggling. That's why they have their patsies in the West like Elon Musk pushing for a ceasefire and a truce. It's not going to save them. This is the best Russia can do. Putting tires on top of their jets on Russian bases hundreds of kilometers deep inside their own territory. The memes online are pure gold. Tires on top of Putin's presidential motorcade. And why not? Just to be safe, let's put some tires in the Kremlin as well. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. Japan is going to transfer 24 cranes to Ukraine for demining. Thank you so much, Japan. Singapore announces that it will send another 22 ambulances to Ukraine for humanitarian aid. Thank you so much, Singapore. Final couple feel-good clips I have for you. The first one is a Ukrainian chef showing off his dinner for the troops tonight.
Добрий вечір, Україна. Знову з вами кухар-повар Іван. У нас похолодало. Прийшлося одіти кофту зимню. На вечерю подивіться, що ми приготували. У нас буде плов. Дивіться, який плов. Навіть часичину вкинув сюди. М'яса скільки. Ай. Ще чуть-чуть і буде готово. Ой, хорошо. Значить, козакам буде плов і овочевий салат. Помідор, огірок, перець болгарський, цибулька, заправлене олійкою. Всім добра, мира, слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Looks delicious. Final clip I have for you is a Ukrainian trench cat helping keep watch.
Геннадий, что ты до пулемета докопался? Вот у нас новый пулемет. Дайте мне пулемет и все. Красу с предохранителя.
That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.